All right, thanks everyone for joining us here today. I'm really excited to share a little bit about our New England Impact NPL with our new clubs that are joining us this season, our upcoming season this fall. And I also wanted to be able to, again, congratulate our founding clubs for creating this league for all of us where we could really have not only our clubs that we represent, but also to adopt and embrace the league mindset, which is something that other leagues are really trying to figure out how we do so well. But again, the founding clubs have been instrumental in driving the mission of the New England Impact and also supporting not only myself, but all of the programs that we've been involved with. So the New England Impact now has expanded. We've added 2 new clubs to our family. We have the Alley Cat Soccer Club and we have the Legacy Soccer Club joining us. So when we do release our schedule in the next 2 weeks or so, you'll see the new names, and I'm really excited to get to work with other club directors who will support all of the work that we've been doing so far. And as the president of the New England Impact, I went through a full year this year, and it was a really exciting time. We were still kind of dealing with a little bit of the remnants of the pandemic, but for the most part, we did a great job in executing all of the programmings that we set forth. Now, we have a couple of values that I want to remind our current players, our returning players, and also our new families about. And these are the 4 driving core values that whenever we get involved with any activities, I just make sure we circle back on this. So these are the things that we instill in our players, in our coaches, in our club directors, and also in myself in terms of making sure that we do these things. So the first thing is to have pride. When we're representing our clubs, it's no question we're definitely walking out there and representing our club at the highest level. We also need to be mindful that we're representing our families when we're out there, and we're representing our league. And it's especially true of our older players, that when college coaches are out there on the sidelines watching you, everything that we do is a representation of the shield that we're wearing and a representation of who you are. So it's very important to keep that in mind in the wins and in the losses, in the tough games and in the easier games. We really stress empowerment of our players, and we're very unique as a league that we pay attention to not only having a competitive schedule, but we really make sure that we address you as a player, you as a human, and you as a future soccer player, perhaps at the collegiate level. And if you're not going to play at the collegiate level, that's fine as well. But we do want to give you options to study at the next level and to also be engaged in whatever career or major that you want to be involved with. Legacy building is important to me. I think all of our actions carry us through our lives. So it's funny because our 2 guest speakers today actually know each other because they played with each other. And one of our guest speakers is also an alum of one of our clubs. And it really is about giving back to the sport that you love. And in 5 years from now, maybe some of you also will be giving back. Maybe you hold a position that you can share with our current players. Maybe you're a donor, but all of the things that we try to instill in our impact players is that whether you're a current player or a player who has graduated from our program, you're always part of everything that we do, and we hope we make you proud throughout your experience. And the big thing about impact that really most leagues can't put their finger on in terms of what we do is the inspirational change. We use the word transformational quite a bit. Transformational means there's going to be some change in you, some change in the people around you. That could be your team, that could be your club, that could be your league, that could be your community. So last year in our fall impact kickoff, we actually we had a school supply drive, and we collected lots of materials for the Metro YMCA, and we're going to continue to do that in the fall. I'm also going to be introducing you to another charitable organization as well that we will work with in terms of empowerment. So the change in each of you as a player has a ripple effect across our league and across your club as well. And we always want to make sure we pay attention to those changes. So I just want to highlight here some of the unique aspects of the New England Impact. And I also want to point out that these are the things that we're going to be doing in the fall and spring and even the winter of next year. So one of the things that I stress is preparation for the next level, and being seen by college coaches is important to many of our athletes. So we have a coach, impact coach clinic. So we have a number of staff members who are current college coaches, whether head coach or assistant coach. We have a lot of friends of Impact that also volunteer their time. There are college coaches who want to give back to Impact. So what we do and what we will be doing is creating virtual sessions to prepare you for what it's like to attend a college ID day. So we're simulating a college ID day. So when you actually sign up, register, and go to a college identification day, a recruit day, you will already be prepared and already feel the butterflies, the pressure, and a little bit of the anxiety that's part of training with unfamiliar coaches. It's easy to train in front of coaches you already know. It's more difficult to train in front of coaches who you don't know their terminology, you don't know their expectations. And it's also one of the things that we pride ourselves on. It will be a mixed club event. So when you are out there, you might be on the field with people who are on another club. That's exactly what happens when you show up at a college ID day. If you go with your friends, great, you might not be in the same group, but at college ID days, college coaches will throw a lot of things at you that you might not have ever experienced before, and you have to act, react, and you also need to kind of figure out how to deal with the pressure of being in an unfamiliar field with unfamiliar people. So we'll continue to do that. We will have a mixed club college event too, where we invite a number of Division I, Division II, Division III coaches to come watch us play. And so these are other opportunities for you as a potential college athlete to reach out to the schools that you're interested in. And one of our guests will talk about finding the right fit and making sure you're targeted in some of the messaging that goes out to college coaches. But before we step on the field, I will always run a virtual session just to kind of prepare you for what to expect, and also handle any questions that we have before we get onto the field. This year, our mixed club event was combined with the college coach event. So that was actually a nice format that I enjoyed quite a bit. So we might look at that same format next year, but I can promise you that you'll have all of the tools that you need to get ready for those identification days if you choose to go to those. We also will continue with our networking series, so inviting college players. I love to have freshmen come and speak to you, especially those players who are juniors and seniors in high school, so they can share a little bit about what it's like to get ready for preseason, what it's like to be a first-year player, what it's like to be recruited, what it's like to be a walk-on, which means maybe you're not getting any athletic money, or the coach wasn't really considering you for the roster, but you show up and you make the roster. Those are always great stories to hear. So we'll hear from folks who have played for the clubs that we're part of. Since Impact is so new, we'll also ask our recent graduates to come back and let us know what it was like. I did run a LinkedIn session also for our players, which a lot of people would say, oh, we're too young for LinkedIn. The LinkedIn session that we ran, I think it was a year and a half ago, turned into a branding session. So it turned into what you should be putting out there on social media. And that's something that we'll continue to explore as well, because I know I'm heavy on Instagram. I know most of our players are very heavy on Instagram as well. But we need to know the do's and don'ts, and what college coaches and even high school coaches and even your club coaches are looking at when you are sharing. So we'll go through that as well. And then, of course, just making an impact in our community is really important. I was fortunate enough to build the leadership committee and learn a lot from a small sampling of our impact student athletes. And I'm hoping that that can be expanded a little bit more, because the stories of our individual impact players are revealing, are inspirational, and giving back to the things that you love, whether it's at your high school, middle school, or community. Those are things that we should continue to celebrate with all of us. So the spring season, it's an exciting time to be part of Impact. Our Impact Cup winners, let me just give a shout out to the following winners. Bayside FC won the 2009 division. The Aztec Girls 2008 won our Impact Cup. For the 2007, it was the Aztec Girls. 2006, 2005, and 2003, 2004 all came from Bayside. So I want to congratulate our Impact Cup winners and also the teams that will be traveling to Colorado to play in the MPL championships. So it really was an exciting tournament. For those of you that didn't know, we had a heat wave during one of the playoff days, and I made the decision that our health and safety was more important than playing on that day. And so we did have a lot of self-scheduled games, which I know as parents, you might not have been thrilled with that, but ultimately decisions have to be made. And that was a decision that I stand by. And in the end, it all worked out. But the health and safety of our athletes and also the officials who are working those games has to be number one when we're making these decisions based on heat. We also are leaders in terms of mental and health awareness. The work that we have done with other professionals in the field to address mental health, emotional health, also nutrition, that's the work that we will continue to do. Every speaker under that umbrella has requested to come back and be part of a series of educational programming, because it's not just about 1 hour talking about things. It's about really investing in our athletes and making sure our athletes have the tools to support their needs and also to be to speak out about their concerns. So under this mental health umbrella, to the players who are on tonight, you need to share the things that are bothering you so that we can help you. And you should not be afraid about or insecure about anything that you share, because all of us have something that has kind of impacted us. And the more that we can share together as a group, you just don't know who else you can help. So please, if you want to email me, you can DM me on social media. If there's a topic you want us to explore, and I definitely will find somebody to address that with us and also explore how we can benefit from learning from one another. I also wanted to say that for our class of 2022, we've launched a scholarship fund. We need people to apply. The deadline is July 1st. If you are in the class of 2022 and feel like you'd like to apply, but you're a little bit unsure of what needs to happen, just shoot me an email. We can actually talk it out, and that could be part of your application. So I think it's really important to apply, because it's expensive to go to college, and you can use the funds in the bookstore, which you'll realize soon enough that textbooks are very expensive. So as we look in the fall of 2022, we do have September 10th as our fall kickoff event. I am working right now on figuring out a location for all of our clubs to participate in the kickoff event as our opening kind of first competition date. When we did this last year, it fell on September 11th. We had some of our players sing the national anthem, which was emotional to say the least. And I'm hoping that we can continue that tradition of kicking off each age group with a national anthem sung by an Impact athlete. We will have a merchandise tent there. I've already secured the massage tent, which we all love. So those are the things that we will be doing in the fall 2022. And just a special thanks to the companies that have supported our scholarship fund. We have One-on-One College Consulting. We've had Kim Penny, the founder of One-on-One College Consulting, with us a number of times. I know there are a few Impact players actually who have signed up for some meetings. I'm actually one of the coaches that works with One-on-One as well. It truly is a beneficial program for students to go through. And one of our guest speakers will be speaking about that. We have Cooper Nutrition Solutions, also that is a sponsor, and she was our second nutritionist to speak to our Impact players this spring. And then Rachel Wood has been instrumental in providing a lot of support to our Impact families and players. She is part of Summit Soccer Academy, and she spoke very eloquently about mental health and the tools that our players need to be empowered to speak out. So these are 3 scholarship fund sponsors that I thank. And now on to tonight, we have our kind of summer training and college program research seminar. And it's exciting to kind of have different people. Obviously, this is what I love to do, is bring different professionals to the impact world. We have tonight Julia Rafferty, who will kick us off. She's an admissions coach at One-on-One College Consulting. She was a 3-sport athlete in, wait, you're a 3-sport athlete? Wow, you have to talk about that in high school. She also, you have a lot of experiences, Julia, as I read this information here, but the way I met Julia basically was that I also work at One-on-One College Consulting. But what impressed me the most about Julia, she also is an assistant coach at Tufts University, is how caring she is about every person she works with. And so, you know, just working with somebody that wants to give back, played at a very high level, Julia, I'll let you tell them where you played, is important. And also another thing about Julia too, is that she navigated college and just thought she was going to be one thing and then realized she's actually something else. And she'll talk a little bit about her career evolution as well. And then we have Katie Kreider, who is a soccer coach and assistant director of admissions at the Groton School. And Katie was recommended by Mike Kersker, who is the president of Aztec Soccer Club. Katie is an alum of Aztec. So we have 2 excellent female ambassadors of our sport here to address you tonight. And what I will let Julia do is, I know, do you want to share your screen, Julia?
I don't have a graphic, but I'm happy to get started now.
That's okay. Okay, so Julia, you can take over. If anybody has any questions, I am able to see your questions. Just kind of add them to the chat, and then I can help facilitate. If you have any questions of me too, and I'm going too fast because I'm excited, sorry about that, but feel free to ask at any time. Thanks, Julia.
Yeah, absolutely. I am so excited to be here. Team, you know, impact and the values, I feel like they align so perfectly with One-on-One. So I'm so excited to be here with you all tonight. And Dina, thanks for inviting me to be here. So like Dina said, I'm an admissions coach at One-on-One. We specialize in helping students and families with the college search and application process. I have a really quick background on kind of me and what led me to One-on-One, but I'm from Reading, Mass. I went to Bates College, where I played soccer and basketball and majored in psychology. And from there, I just knew I wanted to coach college soccer. I went immediately to Virginia and coached at the Division III level at University of Mary Washington for 1 year. And then the job opened up at Tufts. I was excited to be back in the NESCAC. And I was at Tufts for 6 years as the recruiting coordinator and associate head coach. So while I was at Tufts, I learned obviously so much about the perspective of, you know, the college coach and the recruiting process for the college coach. But what I, you know, unexpectedly sort of realized is that so many of the high school athletes that I was meeting with just felt so overwhelmed by the college process and really sort of frustrated with how confusing it could be. So it was so important for me at Tufts to really demystify the process, be very upfront with our recruiting timeline and sort of like what the lingo was, where recruits stood in the process. But what I realized at Tufts is that every single school was different. So that's kind of where the confusion comes in with the recruiting process, is that, you know, even at the Division III level, different conferences can have different timelines. They could refer to early reads as something different. So it's confusing and it's overwhelming, and the process should be fun. So that's what I love about One-on-One, and the philosophy is that it kind of turns it inside out. And our motto is finding the best fit for each student athlete. So if we're working with, you know, 10 female soccer players who want to play at the collegiate level, not all 10 of them will have the same list. Each of them, we're going to find the best fit for them. So we're really placing the student athlete in the driver's seat, which is what I love, and control the controllables is so important. When I was coaching at Tufts, I found that a lot of student athletes were doing the, you know, cast a wide net approach. And what I mean by that is they would email 100 coaches and not do too much research on each of the schools, but just, based on the ratio. If I email 100 coaches, it's probably likely that a quarter of them will get back to me. It makes sense, but it's not the best process to find the right fit for you. And it's really time consuming to email that many coaches at one time. So what I mean by turning the process inside out is really first identifying the academic fit, social fit, and financial fit. So, before we even talk about soccer or the, athletic piece, we're really talking about academics, social, and financial for each student athlete. So the way you start this is by identifying your academic fit. So you're looking at potential careers, internships that you might want to do in the summer. I know you're all so busy, but in the summer we have a little bit extra time. So you could be doing job shadows. You could be, talking to anyone who's in a field and just seeing if it sparks a little bit of passion in you or a little bit of interest. And from there, you can start to identify majors that you feel like might be a good fit for you. And then also just looking at your GPA and identifying schools that maybe are in the right academic profile for you. Guidance counselors can be so helpful with that piece. So as you do that, you're narrowing down the list of schools, and out of those 100 coaches that you emailed at the beginning, maybe your list is now down to 75, and there's 75 schools that are a really good academic fit for you. The next piece is the social fit. So by social fit, I mean, is the school big or small that you'd like to be at? Is it spread out or compact, rural or urban, close to home or a plane ride away? And that's one you have to talk about with your family, because sometimes the kid wants to go to California and the family wants them in the town next to them. So social fit is identifying size, geographic region, campus feel, any social qualities. Is Greek life really big on campus? There's so many little things that differentiate one school from another. And if you start looking at them and visiting them and kind of figuring out where you can see yourself for 4 years, you start to narrow down even a little bit more. So out of those 75 schools that were a good academic fit, maybe once you figure out the social fit, now we're down to 50. So that's 50 coaches that you didn't have to waste your time emailing because you never would have wanted to go there. So it's just a better, better for you, better for the coaches, better for your time. The next piece is pretty self-explanatory, but it's very important. It's the financial fit. So this is just looking at what schools have merit scholarships, athletic scholarships, other types of aid. Every conference is going to be a little bit different. Every school is going to be a little bit different. And just figuring out what number your family is comfortable spending. So this could get your list from 50 down to 25. So now you went from 100 coaches that you're emailing. That takes so much time. Now down to 25 schools that you know are a great fit for you academically, socially, and financially. And then you overlay the soccer piece. And some of you might not want to play college soccer. Maybe you want to play club soccer, and that's part of that social fit there. You're looking at what schools have club soccer that I could maybe play. So once we overlay the athletic fit, and this is where your coaches can help you, you can look at feedback you get from college coaches about what level of play they think you're at, what division, what conference, how competitive. And then you narrow down your list even a little bit more. So now you have maybe 20 schools that are a great academic, social, financial, and potentially athletic fit for you. And that's your list. That's what you want to, start emailing those coaches and getting after it. And your email is going to jump off the page for those college coaches, right? Because you did all of that research and all that work. So when you email the coach, you're not just saying, hey, I'm going to be at this showcase and I hope you come see me play. You're saying, I love this program. I love that major. I love the fact that you have on-campus housing for 4 years. I'm really interested in this academic scholarship. So that coach is seeing that you've done the research and they know that that's a school that might be on the top of your list, or it's definitely on your list. And just like, for athletes, how you're trying to find your best fit, coaches are also trying to find their best fit too. So we might go to a showcase and see 100 players, but out of those 100 players, we don't know which ones actually are interested in coming to our school. So the more that you can show that you've done the research, you've put in the work, and you really can see yourself at that school, that coach is going to be so much more inclined to go see you play and to really dedicate a good solid amount of time to evaluate you to see if you're going to be a good fit for their program. So, when you go to look at camps, there's so many camps out there, so many camps. And I know Dina was just talking a little bit about that. So many ID clinics that you could end up going to. How do you decide which ones to go to? Well, if you do the work and you're looking at the academic, social, financial fit and overlaying that athletic fit, well, then it narrows down 50 camps in Massachusetts to maybe 10. And then you're figuring out, okay, what are my top schools? What coaches do I really want to evaluate me? And then maybe you go to those, because you can't burn yourself out and go to 10 camps this summer. It's too much. You're not going to be able to showcase yourself the way you really are proud of. So that's kind of my little spiel. That's a little overview of one-on-one and kind of how there's so much more detail that goes into it in different deliverables we have. We offer comprehensive packages and standalone services. So I'm going to share the link if Dina hasn't already. If you want to go to a free consult, absolutely no pressure to purchase anything, but it's just a great way to kind of get your questions answered and learn about the different programming and see if it could kind of help you throughout this process. But the main takeaways I want you to have from tonight are: you're in the driver's seat always. Put in the work to find your best fit rather than putting in the work to email 100 random coaches. So your time's valuable. And there's a place for everyone. So don't be discouraged. It's not a perfect science. Sometimes, it rains the day a coach was going to see you play. It's okay. If you put in the work and you know what schools you want to be at, well, then that's great. You're going to apply to those schools, and hopefully the soccer piece works out. So I hopefully, this is empowering rather than, kind of demystifying the process a little bit, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, I wish you all the best.
Thanks, Julia. Yeah, if you want to put the link in the chat, that would be great. And we'll also email it out. I have a bunch of questions. We did have a few players email me earlier today saying they had some conflicts, but can we open it up to any of the people who are here today? If you have a question, you can just unmute yourself. Don't be shy. So one thing though, and you can unmute yourself and I can see that, but one thing that I think one-on-one does well is if we basically have flipped the mindset of when we're looking at schools from a student athlete perspective. As parents, sometimes we're driven by, I want my daughter to play Division I. And there's a lot more soccer at other levels that we have to be open to as parents. And there are a lot of differences between the top Division I school and a low-level Division I school and a top D3 school and a mid-range Division I school even. So that's where I think as parents, we need to kind of take that ego hat off and be really honest with you and look at exactly what Julia was saying in terms of the academic fit, social fit being the ultimate drivers in terms of, okay, then soccer. And then if soccer is not in the picture because it's too competitive, and some Division III schools are very competitive for club players, then maybe that's not the school for you, or you end up playing club for that college. And when we say club, it's basically most higher level schools will have a season for players who are not playing kind of on the varsity team, and they'll compete against other schools that have club programs as well. But the mindset of just going Division I think we really have to drop that mindset and be open to kind of the formula that one-on-one has shared multiple times to our impact families.
Absolutely, Dina. And I just feel like maybe I didn't stress this enough, but college is such a big investment. I think we can all agree on that. And it should be 4 years that are so valuable that you look back on and you're like, wow, that really set me up for a lifetime pursuing something I'm passionate about. So soccer is such a big piece. And I think sometimes when you're a high school player and you're dedicating so much time to it, it's really easy to focus on soccer as the sole piece driving your college search. But that's why at one-on-one, we look at, it might sound crazy when you're 16 to be like, what career do I want to do? But start thinking about it, because you want to graduate and feel really happy about the major that you did, and, be able to enter the world and feel like, I'm ready to pursue my next passion, whether it still somehow involves soccer, if you want to coach. But college is such a big investment, and it's so valuable for other reasons other than just playing soccer.
Okay, anyone here have a question? Okay, one question I did get from a player is, when do I start emailing college coaches?
So this is going to depend a little bit on the division that you're targeting. Division one is just going to, the recruiting ends a little bit earlier. So if you're like really targeting Division one and you've, done the process and Division one is a good fit for you, you have to start earlier, but it's never too early. I mean, when we were at Tufts, we had individuals who were freshmen and sophomore who were coming to our ID clinics and sort of establishing a relationship, and they had reached out and emailed, and they had done this sort of process of looking at the academic, social, and financial fit and identified, Tufts as a good fit for them. So the earlier you can do it, don't feel pressured, but if you find a school you love and you're a sophomore, go ahead and email. You're just going to establish a relationship. I don't want anyone to feel like they need to be emailing every week or even every month. You don't need to be doing that. So yeah, hopefully that kind of answers the question.
Okay, I have a few more coming in from actually people in the audience. So how do I know if I'm good enough to play college soccer? Who would help me figure that out?
So your coaches, your impact coaches, are going to be an awesome resource for you. And when you attend clinics and camps, you can ask for feedback from college coaches. Could you see me playing at this level? Could you see me playing within your conference? Maybe there are some players that came to our clinics at Tufts that we didn't have a need for a center midfielder, but we would give them feedback if they asked. We could see you playing within this conference. So don't be afraid to ask if coaches see you as a fit, and then kind of go from there. But again, I want to stress there's a place for everyone. You can find it. And there's competitive club soccer programs at colleges. So if you want to play soccer in college, there's a way to do it.
And Katie, you can jump into if you know the answers to these questions, which I'm sure you do too. But one question which is really good is about the time and pressure difference. So time spent on the sport and pressure difference between Division 1, 2, and Division 3 soccer, and also add club in there.
Katie and I played in the same conference. So for us, it was Division 3, and within our conference, it's the NESCAC conference. There's no spring season. So we truly, the motto is sort of like academics first. There's no commitment outside of the fall. You can't require anything. So I really encourage you, based on what you want. Some people want to be doing soccer year round, so maybe that wouldn't have been a good fit for them, but figure out what you want and then ask those questions to coaches. What's the time commitment in the off season? In season, am I waking up at 6 every morning to do lifts? And then you can sort of gauge what's something that you could see yourself doing for 4 years in college. Katie, I don't know if you have any.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think it also might vary a little bit program to program, even within this conference and other conferences. So asking those specific questions of coaches is really important as well. I was fortunate enough that my coach encouraged us to study abroad in our junior season. And I know that's not always the case. And so that was something that was important to me as well.
And also don't be don't think that just because you're playing Division 3, these NESCAC programs are unbelievable in terms of competitiveness and level of play. It is a philosophy, however, that the conference has adopted and the institutions have embraced about academics truly being primary. But it doesn't mean that athletics is truly secondary either, because a lot of us go to school for both reasons, and that's okay too. So you have to understand that Division 3 doesn't mean lower level. It just means a shift in the philosophy of the institution, and conferences are built by like-minded schools. So that's why they comprise that conference, because they all believe in the same philosophy and mission, basically. But that's part of doing your research, and also getting a connection with the coach. And that's why the ID days are important, which leads to my next question. For the ID days, there are a lot of kind of these mega ID days where there are 20 college coaches at one site. And then there's the more intimate go to the college campus identification day. What are your thoughts on the effectiveness of both of those?
I think they both absolutely serve a purpose. Obviously, if you're going to an event where there's 20 coaches and there might be 6 coaches out of those 20 that are at schools that you have identified as a good fit for you, then that's great to attend those. I think the more intimate ID clinics I love, because as a coach, you get to meet the student athlete and see culture wise and, personality wise and, effort wise, all those intangible qualities, if they'd be a good fit for you, rather than just basing, an evaluation off of the actual play. And then for the student athlete, you get to see the campus. You get to get a little bit more of a sense of the coach's coaching style when it's a smaller, more intimate clinic. In order to go to those clinics, you have to do the work in finding the best fit for you, because you can't go to 20 intimate small clinics a summer. You're too busy. So find the top 2 to 3 schools that you've identified as a good fit for you, and maybe go to those clinics, and then mix in a few clinics that have more coaches in attendance.
That's great advice. I'll handle this next question, and then we'll kind of segue into Coach Kreider. But someone asked about if they wanted to play club soccer in college, who should I contact? If you go onto the college websites, sometimes the club programs are under recreation, under student life, or they could be under athletics, and there actually will be a head coach or a contact, like a team manager. Sometimes there's rosters, schedules, video. So it is actually quite a comprehensive part of a college campus. So you'll be surprised. But all the information, just like you would find for, the varsity program, the NCAA sponsored program, the same, it holds true for the club soccer program. So that's a really great question as well. Thank you, Julia, and feel free to add that link if you want onto the chat. But again, I will also send it out with a follow-up email. So now we have Coach Katie Kreider, who is at the Groton School. And like I said before, she's an alum of the Aztec Soccer Club. So it is always great to have someone who has kind of experienced a club that is under our league umbrella. But I'm really looking forward to hearing from Coach about what we can do as players over the summer when we don't necessarily have a coach telling us what to do, to prepare for preseason and to get ready for our upcoming season. Just some of the mindset and also the physical aspects that we can start to work on basically tomorrow to get ready for our upcoming season. So Coach, I'll let you take over.
Yeah. So just to give you some more context about myself, like Julia, I actually was a 3-sport athlete myself. And I probably would have always told you that soccer was my #1 sport, my favorite. I played basketball and softball as well. But of course, soccer was always kind of more or less year round, at least somewhere in the background. And then summer was definitely quieter. I definitely put less pressure on myself playing basketball and softball. But that being said, still very competitive in both. And I was fortunate enough to play in college at Hamilton College and had a wonderful 4 years there. And can't say enough good things about the NESCAC and that league and that experience. And certainly did have opportunities as well, and was considering Division I opportunities, and had watched my brother play Division I sports, and it worked out very well for him. And I saw that path and also saw a different path for myself. But kind of reflecting on my own kind of career. So in high school in particular, in the winter when I was in basketball season, I was maybe playing like organized soccer once a week. A few days a week, I might spend some time before or after my basketball practices, just like juggling on my own for maybe 30 minutes at a time, put on my headphones and kind of go into like a corner in the gym and just juggle. And more than anything, I think I found this was a really nice way to kind of clear my head, actually, while also helping me keep my touch and not putting too much strain on my body while I balance this other sport. reflecting on kind of my athletic career while I was going through it in high school, and with my soccer coach in particular, I really realized that I was actually often enjoying basketball more than I was enjoying soccer. And I really think that was just because of the amount of pressure I put on playing soccer, because I was like, this is my sport. So when I went out and played basketball, I just had fun, didn't have any expectations. And I found that I was often also playing better in basketball than I was in soccer. I also found that when when basketball season ended, I was really excited for soccer, and really enjoyed what I was doing more than I typically did. I was more energized. And I think that that feeling of just having fun with it often carried over into the soccer season. And again, I think I was playing better because of it. So taking that all kind of into consideration and thinking about the summer is definitely important. There's a lot of time. And then of course, for me, I coach high school girls. So we're definitely stressing to them the importance of coming in fit and healthy. And some of you might look at the summer and see, hey, I have more free time than I usually do. And you want to really fill up those days with clinics or sessions or whatever it might be. But I think that the biggest thing I would tell you to do is ask yourself, what can you do so that you feel refreshed and excited about playing in the fall? Because as we know, the year, it goes by so fast and it is so busy and it is a sprint. So again, what can you do so that you feel refreshed and excited about the fall? So my big advice is honestly take a step back from the constant playing. What are some maybe little things that you can do to keep your touches, but also just like have fun with it? Let it be joyful. It doesn't need to be pressure or stressful all the time. For me, like I said earlier, juggling for like 30 minutes a day was just a head clearing activity that also allowed me to really not lose my touch. It was fantastic. Maybe one more like concrete session a week if you have it. But I really encourage people to take a step back from the super competitive stuff. And of course, if you have clinics, you want to have your touch and your fitness for that, but you don't want to be overdoing it. The other thing I would recommend is actually, play some other games, play some other sports. Just like play, have fun, play spike ball, play beach volleyball, play some pickup sports. It doesn't need to be competitive soccer all the time. And then finally, this is really important, especially as you start considering, obviously, college programs, but strength and conditioning, I would say should take up a bigger bulk of your time probably than playing in the summer. And I certainly found that was the case when I was training. And strength and conditioning is actually kind of another love that I discovered as I was going through it. And so I help out with our strength and conditioning program here as well. But getting in the weight room is huge. If you can, of course, it kind of varies what sort of access that you might have to that. But it's huge for injury prevention and just overall growth as an athlete. And for those of you with college aspirations, you will 100% be in the weight room as a college athlete. And so getting a head start on that is often a nice sign to coaches. So again, 3 things I would say: take a step back from the crazy constant playing, play some other things, and then strength and conditioning and spending the most time doing that. So stay fit, stay healthy, and just find a way to take a step back from things a bit.
Thanks, Coach. I actually took down some notes because I think one of the things that we forget is that it is our off time. And to do a family vacation and go for a hike is so much more beneficial sometimes than kind of going through, okay, I have to run, the 110s and I'm doing the beep test and I'm doing all of those things. But finding a new love is also really important. So you might enjoy the spin class that you never took. You might enjoy the strength training class that you never thought you would enjoy. We're really fortunate because we actually have Fit Revolution has given us a discount code, and they run, cardio classes, tread classes, and strength classes specific to the high school and middle school student athlete. So we do have partners that understand the value of like the non-soccer piece as well. I do want to add that juggling is a lost art. Like juggling is so important that we have forgotten about it. And I can't tell you how much joy I had alone juggling as a young player. It was the greatest thing. for me. And it was, as you said, like being refreshed. It was a refreshing activity. And then the other thing was just finding a wall to just bang a ball, you know, hit off the wall and just kind of collect it. And that's how you build your touch as well. And I think those are the two things that if you can't afford going to a gym, or you don't have time to go to a gym, or you don't want to go to a gym, those are some simple things that you can do, you know, in your backyard, or just going up to the high school where there's usually a wall that you can kind of bang a ball into. So I think that's really great advice. You know what? If another coach came, they might have put up on the screen, like, this is what you should do on Monday, this is what you should do on Tuesday. And given all of the post-pandemic, you know, emotions that we have, I think, Coach, your advice is probably the best advice we could get in terms of being mentally prepared and physically refreshed to just play. And I think that's an amazing message. Okay, people in the audience, our Zoom participants, any questions for Coach or for Julia? Feel free to put some information in the chat. I have a good one. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, the other thing that I would add, Dina, is in talking to my own girls about this summer and what they should be doing, it's definitely a similar message. So encouraging them, you know, we do give them some prescribed conditioning for sure, but the intense soccer playing definitely settles down.
Yeah. You know what, someone asked a question in terms of, is it a better chance of getting into a college if you come from a public school or a private high school? Which is a fair question, since a lot of kids have enrolled in private school recently. What are your thoughts on that? Or does the club feel kind of that is the equalizer?
I'm sure Julia can speak to this as well. I think it varies. So on my Aztec team, there was a smaller portion of us playing private or going to private schools for sure. I think it was me and one other girl were attending a boarding school. And then a couple were going to a day school. And so I think, you know, the one thing that you definitely get at your private school is, you know, I had a college counselor who knew me very well and had a smaller workload. And so that was really helpful. But as far as the recruiting piece goes, I had a lot of help from Aztec for sure. So I think if you have a club that you have that sort of a relationship with, which I know you guys all do, it shouldn't make a huge difference. And then colleges will recognize certain high schools for sure. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think it's necessarily a difference maker.
Great. Okay, we have a freshman. She's basically going to start 9th grade in the fall. What should she be doing now?
Freshman going to start 9th grade in the fall.
Yes.
I would say, again, if you're looking, you don't have much to do, get out and juggle a ball every day. Some basic conditioning. I'll put my email in the chat at the end. So if anybody wants to reach out and ask, I can pass along what I have my girls do. I'd stress not doing too much distance running to my girls. I find that a lot of girls want to go out and just run. And that's often not the best things for their bodies or for soccer. So maybe one longish run a week, and then some shuttle runs, some sprints, some intervals, and then cross training, whatever that might look like. Great
advice. Okay, any last questions that we have from the audience at all? I know we were quiet. Okay, if anything does come up, you can email myself or any of the guest speakers that we've had. But I just want to thank Julia and Coach for joining us today. It really is nice to hear from other people who can really give us some perspective on the college search process, and also on just really having a positive mindset of taking care of your body first, you know, before kind of soccer first. So we learn a lot from every guest that we have, and I really do appreciate the time and the value that you added to our programming. So again, thank you. I appreciate it, and I know the rest of the Impact crew does as well. So we have recorded this session, and we will be posting it on our YouTube channel, so you can check it out. But you're getting some thanks in the chat, so thank you again. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night and a great start to your summer.